Plastic bags don't go in the recycling. It's Recycle Right, the game where we find out what's recyclable and what's garbage. Ready to play? Go! So many items we toss daily like cardboard, cans, cartons, glass, and plastic bottles can actually be recycled in our curbside collection program for a cleaner community. The rest is garbage, like your uncle's aim. When you recycle right, we all win. Take your victory lap.
Every drop has a purpose. It nurtures more than just our gardens. Protect what connects us. Conserve what sustains us. Because water is life.
Hello, everybody. I'm endorsing Oliver Gilbert because he has always delivered for us, raising wages, delivering paid sick leave, and passing a law to lower water rates.
I'm Oliver Gilbert, and I approve this message because from supporting the 5,000 Role Models program to standing up to Trump, I'm ready to carry on the legacy of Congresswoman Wilson.
Trust me, we need Oliver Gilbert in Congress.
Hi, I'm Katrina Wilson, and I am running for school board member, District 1. I've been a lifelong educator for more than 30 years, and I have served in Miami-Dade County Public Schools for almost 40 years. I think that I have a depth of knowledge about education and an experience. Education is the gateway to the future. I think it allows you to dream.
For decades, Daphne Campbell has stood with the people of South Florida, listening and delivering results. A proud Democrat since 1994, registered nurse. She championed opportunities for underserved students to attend college, build brighter futures, and stronger public schools. Senator Campbell will fight to fully fund our classrooms, pay teachers what they are worth, and stop politicians from playing politics with our kids' futures. When residents demanded action against unfair traffic fines, Daphne listened and successfully fought to remove red light traffic cameras in North Miami, Biscayne Park, Miami Shores, and El Portal. Daphne Campbell is also a victim of gun violence. She lost her son to gun violence and understands the pain too many Florida families live with. She believes we can protect the Second Amendment while keeping our children and communities safe. Her vision is clear: stronger public schools, better healthcare, affordable housing, safer neighborhoods, and more opportunities for every family. Experience, leadership, results. Vote Daphne Campbell. Your voice, your future. Our district, District 108. Punch number 102 on your ballot. Political ad paid and approved by Daphne D. Campbell, Democratic candidate for State Representative, District 108.
While Ron DeSantis chose fights over culture wars, I've stayed focused on what families in Miami-Dade County actually need. I'm Ashley Gantt. And in the Florida House, I saw Ron DeSantis play politics with our kids' classrooms while the real problems go ignored. I proudly stood up to that agenda, fighting for our schools, our families, our freedom to live our lives. Now I'm ready to take that fight to the Florida Senate. Family first, community first. That's how I'll lead in the Senate.
What does Miami Gardens mean to me? Home. Miami Gardens is home. I remember riding on the back of dirt bikes where Joe Robbie Stadium is and just watching the growth and the maturation and the glow up, if you will, of the city. It makes me proud to be a son of the city, and it makes me proud that I was able to raise my sons in the city, and then my sons can come back and raise their sons in the city. That's why I'm running. I'm not running for me right now. I'm running for the next generation and putting policies and institutional pieces within our city that will be there long after my term is over, long after my life is over, and I'll continue to serve the people of Miami Gardens and pour back into the same community that made me, that built me, that made me who I am. That's what Miami Gardens means to me. Home.
This was awesome. Thank you for tuning in.
Welcome, Hello News family, to a special edition of the Can We Talk podcast. Our show, we talk to dope people in the community doing dope things. But today, we're doing something very special where we're breaking down ballot issues for everyone in the community. We want to give a special shout out and thank you to our partner tonight, Alpha Gamma Delta Omega chapter of AKA's Sororities Incorporated. We are partnering with them to produce this virtual town hall to break down ballot issues that will impact you most this election season. So just want to thank you all. I saw you guys were early in the chat. I see those hearts in the chat. I love it. I love it. We got to do another collab with the AKAs because y'all are with it. Y'all brought the energy. Y'all brought the numbers. Please feel free. If you are new here, let me give you guys just a quick little, intro to who I am and what we do. My name is Janey Tate. I am the founder and publisher of High-Low News, South Florida's only news site dedicated to Black and Brown millennials. And we're for everybody. We always say we're catered to millennials. Everybody's welcome to the party, but you just can't tell us what's on the menu, right? So we welcome everybody. And this election season, we have been doing our best to cover as much as we can of all the elections, as many local races as possible. So it was really important for us to also to dig into the ballot issues that we're going to be facing as well in South Florida and really across the state of Florida, especially when we talk about property taxes. So when Alexis, the president of the chapter, came to me and said, "Hey, we should do this," I was like, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's collab." And we've already worked together on other things. So it was just a very easy collaboration, right? And so definitely just want to make sure that we give you guys all the issues that you need going into this election. And also, too, I like to kick things off by welcoming you guys to our virtual town hall. It's officially titled The Ballot Breakdown. And tonight, I'll be moderating the conversation while our guests will be explaining issues on the ballot that aren't being talked about enough. You are encouraged to ask your questions in the live chat as well, so we can address them during the broadcast. Before we introduce tonight's guests and get into the conversation, let's welcome our partners. First up is Makita McClune, Connection and Social Action Chair from the Alpha Gamma Delta Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Tonight's virtual event will be an engaging legislative discussion focused on the issues shaping Florida's future. So if Makita is ready to come on, give me a thumbs up and I will welcome you to the show. Welcome, girlie. Take it away.
Welcome. Thank you so much, Janey. Welcome all of our attendees. We're so excited to welcome you tonight. One of our committee members actually shared this prayer, and I felt it in my heart to deliver this to you all tonight before we introduce our chapter president. Heavenly Father, we humbly ask for your favor and blessings upon our event tonight. May your grace be upon us, drawing attendees and generating enthusiasm. Grant us increased attendance in the spirit of excitement among those who plan to join us. May your blessings pour forth, filling this event with the right people and a positive energy. We ask for your divine inspiration to rest upon our speakers. May they be vessels of wisdom and insight, touching the hearts and minds of all who hear them. Grant our panelists the ability to communicate with clarity and with passion. May their words and performances inspire and uplift, leaving lasting impact on our attendees. We pray for our attendees that all who gather be actively involved and invested in this experience. Grant us the ability to create an atmosphere of interaction and connection. May our attendees feel inspired to share, learn, and collaborate with one another. May this event be a place of learning, growth, and meaningful connections. In your name we pray, we recognize all the source of inspiration, Lord, and we invite your presence into this event this evening. In your name we pray, amen, amen, amen. And at this time, I would like to introduce our chapter president, President Alexis Brown. Thank you so much.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It is so exciting to be here. First things first, I want to thank Janey from Hilo News for accepting the call, accepting the idea of us collaborating together on something that needs to be done. And all of our organizations do so many great things. And I think through collaborations and strategic partnerships, it allows all of us to amplify the things that we're trying to get out. So again, I want to warmly welcome everyone to tonight's town hall, and thank you for taking the time to join us tonight. As we gather, I want to briefly emphasize the importance of staying informed and actively participating in the democratic process. And that includes, of course, includes extending beyond Election Day. It means understanding the issues that impact our neighborhoods, asking thoughtful questions, and working together to build a stronger and healthy community. Voting is one of the most powerful ways we can make our voices heard, and an informed voter is an empowered voter. Our goal tonight is to provide a space for learning, respectful dialogue, and community connection. I encourage everyone to listen with an open mind, engage thoughtfully, and leave this town hall hopefully feeling better informed and more prepared to participate in shaping the future of our community. Before I close out, I would like to acknowledge our partners, our sister chapter, Pi Delta Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the president, Keandra S. Cherry. Thank you for participating and partnering with us. The Beta Beta Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Thank you to the president, Honorable Daryl Tariq. Rho Sigma chapter of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Thank you to the president, Marceline Fields Ame. And lastly of the Divine Nine organizations, we want to thank the 2026 International Award-winning Graduate Chapter of the Year, Zeta Nu Nu Chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, and their president, Matthew Tisdall. Thank you so much. And some of our other community partners, the Miami-Dade branch of the NAACP. Thank you to President Daniella Pierre, the Wilkie D. Ferguson Junior Bar Association. Thank you to the president, Julian Jackson Fanin, and Lawyers in Bloom. Thank you to the president, Ashanti Palmer, as well as the vice president, Jessica Turner. Thank you again to the committee for pulling this together, and we look forward to an amazing, amazing conversation. I'm going to throw it back to Janey to get this party started.
Thank you so much, Alexis. That was amazing. I'm so excited tonight. Y'all, I just want y'all to know, we encourage you coming in the comments, giving your energy. Also, to just for everybody just joining, we will be taking questions for Q&A in the chat. So wherever you're watching, whatever platform you're watching on, you can put your comments there in the chat. But thank you again, Alexis. And you guys are ready to get it started? Let's go. So up next, I'm going to introduce our esteemed panelists. But before we get into it, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. The webinar is being recorded. Please remain muted if you're backstage guests, and unmute yourself when you come on stage. To submit questions, as I said before, you can do that through the chat feature on the platform you're watching. Audience questions will be addressed during the Q&A session near the end of tonight's program. Keep comments respectful and on topic to ensure a productive discussion. If you experience technical difficulties, just let me know if you're one of the panelists and we will get it going. As everybody knows who watch our show live, we keep it rolling, we keep it going. We understand live production can have some kinks, but we keep it going. So today's discussion is discussion is designed to provide an education overview of some of Florida's most significant legislative and voting developments. We'll explore what has changed, why it matters, and what these changes could mean for individual businesses, individual in the community, local government, and communities across our state. So now I'd like to introduce our panelists. So up first, I would like to introduce State Representative Ashley V. Gantt from House District 109. She is running for State Senate seat 34. Ashley V. Gantt is an attorney, educator, and public servant running to represent Miami-Dade County in the Florida Senate. A University of Florida graduate, she began her career as a Teach for America Corps member in the Mississippi Delta before returning home to teach in Miami-Dade County Public Schools for 7 years. She later she later earned her law degree from Nova Southeastern University's Shepherd Board College of Law. After becoming a member of the Florida Bar, Gantt served as a Broward County Assistant Public Defender before founding Gantt Legacy Law PA, where she practices criminal defense, estate planning, and probate and personal injury law. She also serves as an adjunct professor at Nova Southeastern University and has held leadership positions with several legal and community organizations. Without further ado, let's welcome to the stage Ashley Gantt. Hey, what's up?
Hey.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here tonight.
Of course. I'm going to read our bio for our next guest. Senator Dwight Bullard, Senior Advisor for Florida Riser and former Florida State Senator. Dwight Bullard is a former public school teacher who served as both state representative and state senator here in South Florida. He is currently serving as senior political advisor for Florida Rising, the state's largest independent political nonprofit. Without further ado, let's welcome to the show and the town hall, Senator Dwight Bullard. Hey there. Let me get these things off our heads so everybody can see us clearly. Welcome to the show. You guys are no strangers to the show.
Hey, Senator Bullard.
Can you hear us? Are you muted?
I forgot to unmute myself. Hey, Ashley Viola again. How you doing?
The viola.
you gotta give the viola.
You have to give the viola. So as I get ready for or read our next guest, let's see. I would like to just give a disclaimer. She's going to join us later, and but we'll let her, let you guys know when she joins us. But we definitely wanted to introduce her. So, a third panelist is Daniella Pierre, president of the NAACP Miami-Dade branch. Daniella Pierre serves as president of the NAACP Miami-Dade branch, where she works to advocate the well-being, education, and economic security of Black people and all persons of color. She's a proud native Opelika native and dedicated community advocate. Daniella holds a Master's of Science in Human Resource Management and is currently pursuing a Doctor of Education in Educational Leadership. Her mantra is lead where you are, invest in people, and create lasting change. So welcome all of our panelists. Y'all give them some fire or some love in the chat. We like to do that here. And as I've tried to figure out how to get this off of our head, I'm actually having some technical difficulties myself. So let's stand by really quick, because I just want to make sure that we have a really good viewing experience for our people at home. And if you guys would like to, while I figure that out, how about you guys just give some quick intros of yourself, and why it was important for you guys to be here tonight.
Ladies first.
Okay. So, hey everyone, I'm State Rep Ashley Gantt, and I serve humbly and proudly House District 109. So when we talk about elections, we know how important it is to exercise our right to vote. But I won't say but. And it's also important to be informed when you go vote. And so when this idea came up to do a town hall before the primary, and I'm sure we're going to have some more information before the general election, I was 1000% on board. I want people to be engaged. Apathy is the enemy of progress. And so we have to continue forward by being informed. And, I'm in it. I live, breathe, and eat policy. And as an elected official or a public servant, I knew that I had to make sure that, if I had the time, or if I had to make the time, I wanted to provide everyone with the opportunity to be informed. So that's why I'm here.
Senator Bullard.
Plus to everything Ashley said. I think, when we're born, especially for those of us living in the 305, we sign a social contract to hold our collective selves accountable. And in moments like these, this is when we have to make sure that contract gets renewed, because these elections matter. All elections matter, but we're literally fighting for our existence, especially as Black folks in this moment. And Black folks in Miami, we see ourselves kind of being shrunk very quickly or cast off to the margins. And so, moments like this are a deliberate statement that we are here, we're going to be here, we're going to remain here, and we're not going anywhere. So happy to be in the space with both you, Janey, and you, Ashley, as the down south kid who went to Killian, being amongst these chiefs on the call. I'm just here to try and represent for the little pocket of God's country called Richmond Heights.
Yes, thank you so much, guys. I just want to make a quick announcement that all partnering organizations are nonpartisan organizations, and we are not endorsing any candidates. If you guys missed the disclaimer at the beginning of the video, we're going to say it again. So definitely want to just make that clear. And if you guys are ready to go, I'm ready to get into our first topic. This one is about redistricting and legislative change. We'll begin with a topic that impacts every Florida voter, the recent election law and redistricting changes. And so the first question is, and you guys, can go back and forth, whoever feels like the best person who can answer it. Like if you feel like, someone answers it and they got it, we can move on to the next question. So we'll round robin it that way. So the first question I would like to ask is, what is the most significant election law change you think Florida voters should know about before the next election? And ladies first, we'll start with Rep. Ashley V. Gantt.
So for the past 4 years that I've been in the legislature, I've seen election laws every single session. We passed the latest one this past session. And basically what's important about it is it restricted the IDs that were permissible or that are accepted when you go vote. So student IDs are no longer accepted. They also put provisions in the law that basically will impact a lot of elders in the sense that you have to have a real ID and you have to have a birth certificate. But a lot of people who were born during Jim Crow, basically, they were born at home and they weren't issued birth certificates. And I know that personally because that happened to my aunt. And so we spent about a year and a half going back and forth with South Carolina and our DMV here in order to get her a license where she'll be able to, well, first drive and then be able to vote this election season. And so there were a number of different things that were passed in that legislation. And I have like a quick cheat sheet that I have shared on social media and then I can share again. But those are significant because they changed how you can verify who you are with your identity. Another thing, and it's not so new, but it is very important, is the inactive status of voters. So if you haven't voted in 2 consecutive elections, they're going to mark you inactive, and you have to contact the supervisor of elections in order to become active again in order to vote. So if you know someone, for whatever reason, they didn't vote in the last election or they didn't vote in a local one, you need to make sure that they check their status online and that it doesn't say inactive.
Anything you'd like to add to that, Dwight?
Yeah, 100%. Everything that Rep. Gantt talked about is spot on. We need to understand that Republican-controlled legislature, I want to be very clear about that, has run ramshot over communities, especially communities of color, especially Black communities, in terms of how they've chosen to specifically attack our communities around these pieces of legislation. She talked about House Bill 991, which is going to basically require documentary proof of citizenship in order for you to engage in elections starting next year. This bill will officially take effect in January of 2027. So for this upcoming election, you're not going to have the direct results, but you have what's called the chilling effect, meaning that because that's passed, you're starting to see supervisors of elections make changes individually in their individual counties. You're starting to see policy passed at the hyper-local level that is really challenging the actual citizenship and agency of individuals that Ashley pointed out, right? So we're talking about those who are elderly. We're talking about transplants here in the state that are now going to have to go out of state to find their birth certificates or track those down. Just to put this into context, understand this. Women weren't allowed bank accounts of their own until 1972, right? Women weren't allowed credit cards until the 1970s. So these kinds of attacks, I don't want people to think that this is some, post-slavery, old-timey kind of thing. We're just experiencing full freedom and freedom of identity and freedom of movement for people. Today is the 61st anniversary of the Voting Rights Act, right?
Mm-hmm.
Today. So, and I'm sure everybody in here knows somebody who's at least 61. I'm putting that into context because that means Black people, women, marginalized communities did not have voter protections until 1965, right? Despite the passage of the 15th Amendment, despite the passage of the 19th Amendment that said Black men and then women were granted the right to vote, the protections weren't put into place until 1965. And over the last 61 years have been systematically gutted. The reason I am no longer in the Senate, part of that is because of the gutting of the Voting Rights Act under Shelby versus Holder in 2013 that said that counties and certain municipalities that had never or had a bad habit of not electing Black people, the district that I then represented was one of those counties that was impacted in the 2010s by mid-decade redistricting. What we just saw happen this year with mid-decade redistricting is also one of those things that took place in which they are literally gutting the Voting Rights Act by making the claim that because Barack Obama was elected, that now we're somehow, racially ambiguous. We're on the right side of history, but it's very telling that the very states that were once Confederate states were the first ones to go back and say, well, let's make sure we redraw these districts to eliminate historically Black districts, to eliminate historically Black representation. We saw it with the Northern District in Jacksonville that used to be represented by Al Lawson, gutted. And we saw it this past year where we went from 8 Democratic or Democratic-leaning districts to now 4 Democratic or Democratic-leaning districts. And we saw the turmoil that has caused in places like Broward County, right up the road, where you had a current sitting white representative and a historically Black-leaning district now coming into play, where you now might see Black representation lost in Broward County via this election. So we can go on and on and on about it, but I'll just simply name the fact that people need to be more angry about what's happening in the world right now.
Yep.
And you kind of touched on it. And the next question is, why was Florida's congressional map redrawn and what changed the most? And if there's anything else that you feel like we should add to that we didn't touch on, I definitely would love to know you guys' thoughts.
Yeah, since I was already leaning there, racism. That's what did it. I don't want anybody to think, we could give some complicated legal argument, but the simple answer is anti-blackness and racism is what prompted these changes. The same thing we saw in Texas, the same thing we saw in Tennessee. They threatened to do it in South Carolina. It is a direct attack on Black voting power, dilution of Black voting power. And what we're going to see, understand this, the Congressional Black Caucus in this current Congress is about 62 members. If you do the math, that means for the first time in American history, the Congressional Black Caucus is representative of the Black population from a numerical standpoint. If Black people make up about 14% of the country in terms of population, you now have a Congressional Black Caucus that is representative of that number. Just so folks understand, the changes that have happened in all these states, including Florida, could result in the loss of almost 20 of those members if we're not careful. And so I want people to understand that this is a real life, real-time problem, and that, this isn't an oversimplification. It was racism that prompted it.
That puts we don't have to go deep into that, but that puts the race in Congressional District 20 in a different perspective, because I had no idea how those numbers fully worked out. Ashley, this next question I would like for you to dig into: how will the new district boundaries affect voters and congressional representation?
I was just about to actually answer that question.
Really?
So with the redrawn of the congressional districts, before I say this, I want to put on everyone's radar, at the end of this decade, we will be redrawing the maps for the state house and the state senate seats. So just putting that on everybody's radar. Last 4 years, I've been learning about redistricting for the next 4 years that's coming up, so I could be fully prepared. Now, how does it impact voters? So we have the fair voting, what is it called? Fair voting amendment?
Fair districts.
Fair district amendment, right? That passed in Florida. That was a citizen-led initiative that said two things. One, we have to have a district that's representative of the race of the people, that's representative of that. And two, the districts can't be drawn based on political parties. So when we did the redistricting in April, the governor did this map. Not one single person in the legislature had any hand in actually drawing this map, or this map. Okay. Now, when his map drawer, because they got it from Trump, okay, that's the real truth of it. When the map drawer said he drew it, he said that he drew it with political considerations in mind. Now, I'm going to get technical a little bit with my lawyer hat on, okay? So why is
there?
So if we have two different prongs to the Fair Districts Amendment, right? One of the prongs says race. When we were considering that in April, the Calais case that derived in Louisiana came out literally as we were arguing arguing the bill on the floor to be voted on. And it basically said the Supreme Court threw another sledgehammer swing to the Voting Rights Act, right? And so the Republican map drawer and the attorney for the governor said, well, we can consider race. No, they said if Calais comes out and the Supreme Court rules how we think we're going to rule, the race part is no longer applicable. So if one part is no longer applicable, the whole thing is no longer applicable. That is not how Florida law works. Florida law has something called severability, meaning if one part is bad, That's the only part you take out. The rest is still good. So if you go into surgery and you need surgery on your knee, that doesn't mean they throw the whole body away, basically. Okay. So they admitted on the record that oh, go back in the room. This is my nephew, y'all. They admitted on the record that they used partisan data to draw this map, which means they created intentionally partisan maps for the congressional districts. Okay. Wow. And so their argument is, oh, the whole thing is invalid. There was the litigation that came about before we are actually going to be voting in these races. And the Supreme Court basically said, well, the harm hasn't happened yet. Everything you're arguing is conjecture at this point. It's, you're guessing. We don't know if there's real harm. So it's not yet right. So we're going to see more litigation after the election. Why does this harm voters? This harms voters because it's given a green light to gerrymandering, packing, and that's a technical term with voting where they put all the Black folks in that one district. Okay? They want to dilute all of Black folks' vote. Or like they did in Central Florida, there is a significant Hispanic, particularly Puerto Rican population in Central Florida. So guess what they did? They split that thing right down the middle. Okay? And so they're diluting that voter power in Central Florida. And then in Tampa, they did the same thing, but they did it with the Tampa, Hillsborough County being blue. So they split it up and they put a whole bunch of red traditionally leaning districts into the area that was traditionally blue. So it went from 8 to 4, and that's how they've done it. But that started back when they did redistricting before, when they took, it was what's her name? It was
Corinne Brown.
Corinne Brown and Al Lawson seats. Those are 2 historically Black seats in Florida that they eliminated because they said we are now race neutral or racially in a post-racial society. So it impacts voters because you want people that are going to represent your community. So if you look at the maps, District 25, which is to the east of 24, goes from Miami-Dade County to Palm Beach County. It is the entire coast of Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade. How is somebody in North Miami in the same congressional district as somebody in the beaches, with Palm Beaches? It doesn't actually make sense, but that's how they drew the map. And they drew it to ensure that there were more dark red or dark purple, more red seats than truly purple or blue seats. And that's how we go from the 8 seats to the 4 seats that Senator Bullard mentioned. And then when you look at Broward County, you have some of the rural counties going west included with Broward County because Broward is solidly blue. So
who controls who draws these maps? Like who controls that?
So the governor did it himself. And this is a power that per our Constitution is delegated to the legislature. So the leader of the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate abdicated the legislature's role in this, and they just capitulated to the governor and let the governor draw the map. Now, mind you, Fox News got this proposed map before legislators did, including Republican legislators. And so these are all facts. Like, this is not subjective storytelling. These are all facts of what actually happened. And so you're going to have disenfranchisement of voters because rural voters in Florida do not have the same issues, the same concerns as very urban districts like Broward. Palm Beach County landscape for the beaches, even the population is very different from Broward and is even more different from Miami-Dade County. So you are literally seeing a disenfranchisement of representation, true representation, because it's not going to be an accurate assessment of who the community is for that congressional member to be able to advocate on their behalf.
And I would add to kind of that question in terms of the logistics. There are going to be people who go to vote on the Tuesday of election day, and what they assume is their precinct, and have no idea that their precinct has changed, right? And this is one of the follies of like voting logistics and how we operate. We're always encouraging people to either vote by mail or early vote, primarily because when changes like this happen, if the supervisor's office has not properly informed folks, and understand what properly informed is, it's very vague, meaning that they could have sent an email that might have gone to your spam. They might have sent you a mailer that you've thrown out with the coupons in the garbage, or all the other mailers that you've been getting because it's election season, that simply stated, hey, your precinct has changed, your location has changed. You should be on the lookout for it. The problem is, a lot of folks will say, I'm going to wait till election day because I've been voting at the same precinct for the last 10 years and I'm fine with it, only to find out on election day that it's not there, thus putting them in a state of confusion, thus meaning they will not vote. The other...
Can they send them to a different voting, like to their correct voting location? Do they tell them where that is?
They can. That's absolutely a thing. But again, this is why we always talk about, or let's say we, Florida Rising and our other partners, we're always saying, make a plan to vote. Because if you wait until the 11th hour, the last minute, if you say to yourself, I'm going to wait until I leave work, try to get through South Florida traffic, and try to jump in line at 6:45 because I know that they can't kick me out my line. You're right. They can't kick you out the line if that's your precinct. But if at 6:45 you get to the door and they're like, no, your precinct is another location, now you've just been disenfranchised. Another kind of shift is what's going to happen with some of these bills is what's going to happen with the DMV. Because now you have a situation where your driver's license number may change. So if you go to renew your license, you get a brand new driver's license number. What they're supposed to ask you is, would you like to update your voter registration? Because you've been voting, you're like, no, I don't need to update it. The update they're talking about is making sure that your driver's license matches your actual voter information. Because if those two things aren't in alignment, guess what? Now you go vote and you're like, oh, but my ID is valid. It is, but it doesn't match our records. And therefore, we have to now invalidate your ability to vote. So these are the subtle ways in which policy disenfranchises people without them even really knowing that they were disenfranchised.
And I would say, yes, thank you, Senator Bullard, for saying that. Every single time you change your address or whatever you do for your driver's license, because now driver's license numbers are randomly selected. It's not like the typical sequence before, and you will get a new driver's license number than the one that you were issued when you first got your license as a teenager. Always re-register, period. Don't say no, because what can happen is the no will be considered you registering as independent, and Florida is a closed primary state. So there has been issues reported because we passed legislation where you have to affirmatively press, like you have to affirmatively say, I am Democrat, I am Republican, I am independent, and you have to affirmatively say it. So always, if you are doing anything with an update with your driver's license, just go ahead and re-register.
So I actually lost my ID a couple of, maybe like 2 months ago. I went to get a replacement ID. They changed my number, which I was annoyed with. And the question that they asked, and I don't know if this is by design or maybe the worker didn't know, she asked me, did I want to register to vote? So she didn't say that I want to update anything. So if that's what if everybody has different scripts across different DMVs, you know what I'm saying? And asking me, do I want to register to vote, being a super voter, I'm going to say, no, I don't want to register to vote. But if she really meant, do you want to update the this now that you have a new driver's license number, or do you want to update your voter registrations with, your updated information? That's a different question. And to me, that feels kind of tricky. Do you guys feel like that's by design?
Yes.
Because now that you're saying this, I'm like, after this, I need to go make sure I'm registered to vote.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
And bring your passport. Bring your passport just in case. Like go try to early. I don't know if you've early voted yet or whatever, but just bring your passport and bring your driver's license just in case.
So how can voters verify that they're registered and assigned to the correct voting district?
Well, I mean, most folks can do it online, right? I mean, the online voter registration portal for the state will give you whatever your updated information is. Same thing with the county supervisors of elections websites. I know I'm speaking to a lot of Dade folks and Broward folks here. I do feel bad for folks in some of these rural counties where it's a little more difficult to get to these central offices, because that's a problem. But for South Florida folks, you can still go online and verify your information.
We have people watching across the state. I know for a fact we have a couple of people out of Orlando that are watching us. So is there like a centralized website that people can go to?
Yeah. So if you go to your phone and Google Florida online voter registration, it'll take you to the state's website. And it'll prompt you to either register or verify what your registration is. You want to verify to make sure that everything there is accurate, because another kind of thing that's been flagged for months now is people being bumped off the voter rolls, having party switches happen, meaning that, you've always been registered as a Democrat. People have been wholly switched to the other party. Some folks, as Ashley pointed out, have been bumped down to independent because they failed to re-register with an actual party. So these are some of the things. And yes, Janey, it is by design. The creation of confusion, the creation of voter anxiety, the making people have to double or triple check lessens the probability of you voting. It's, we've known for decades, right? If it rains on election day, people are less apt to vote, right? If there's a long line outside, people are less apt to vote. But what they're doing now is saying that, hey, you get to the door, you find out you're at the wrong precinct, you get to the desk and find out that you got the wrong ballot, or I'm reminding folks, you had to update your voter registration to make sure you're registered with a party. So that means that people who want to vote in District 24 with all those folks who all happen to be Democrats, you won't get a chance to if you're an MPA. That's the kind of shenanigans that we've been experiencing in the state for a long time, because we've been dealing with 30 plus years of one party control of folks who have intentionally tried to suppress the vote. And so I just want to make sure folks understand that.
Thank you. And we're going to wrap things up with that section of redistricting and legislative changes. And before we switch over to our topic number 2, diversity, equity, and inclusion, I'd like to welcome to the show Daniella Pierre from the NAACP. If she gives me a thumbs up backstage that she's ready to go, I will bring her to the show. Hey, Daniella. Hey, girl. Hey, unmute yourself. Welcome to our virtual town hall, breaking down the ballot. Thank you for joining us. I know you out there in the streets and you working, so thank you for joining us.
Yes, greetings, everyone. So happy to join in with this powerful team. Glad to be here. We are celebrating the 61st anniversary of the Voting Rights Act. So we are out here making certain that people are getting out the vote and having conversations like this to break down the ballot. So I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much. You're right on time as we have this cool edit point going into our next topic. So the next topic is about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And guys, I want to go through this one within the next 10 minutes, because I know the big topic everybody wants to talk about, and I want to give us time to cook, is property taxes. But we definitely thought it was important to have a conversation about DEI. So from voting rights and representation, we'll shift our focus to another area receiving significant attention in Florida: diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so we'll kick things off with you, Dwight. What are the most significant changes in Florida's recent DEI legislation, and why were they enacted?
Yeah, big problem, and that is Senate Bill 1134, which is anti-DEI legislation that says that local municipalities cannot use their local resources to support what the state views as DEI initiatives. Now, Rep. Gantt knows during her time there were a number of carve-outs because the legislation, when it first came, was basically like a blanket statement. If you want to do a diversity thing, you can't do it, right? And so the sponsor of that bill, who's a problem, despite crying on the floor talking about why do people dislike me, it's because you sponsored garbage legislation, right? But he gets into this habit of now creating all these carve-outs. Well, okay, you can celebrate MLK Day. Okay, you can celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. Okay, you can celebrate these things. But two poison pills that were left in the bill. One is he explicitly wanted to target the LGBTQ plus community. And so therefore, pride parades, celebrations of that are all going to be impacted by this legislation. The other poison pill that was left in the bill is it said that you had to limit diversity educational initiatives to some degree, right? What that means in real time, and I'm speaking from the Miami standpoint, is something that has been as long-standing as the Black Affairs Advisory Board is now being done away with at the county level, right? Because they're saying that the county can't use those resources to fund a board that specifically deals with Black issues. What was that board holding? That board was holding the convening that they've been having since Commissioner Monestein was there around, Black, the state of Black Miami. So now the county can't host that anymore. So now they're trying to find alternative mechanisms and other organizations to host these events. What I would say, and just to put a bow on it, is although these changes have been made, here's the call to action that I need from folks as it relates to this. One, challenge your local governments when February rolls around or Juneteenth rolls around and they somehow ain't got the energy to put up the banners, put up the flags, or do any kinds of celebrations. You need to challenge them early. Don't wait for the moment. When this bill kicks in January, you can't wait until MLK Day and wonder what happened, or wait until Black History Month and wonder what happened. I need folks to be on there on the necks of these city council people, on the necks of these mayors, to make sure that whatever celebration you want that happened this past year, that you still get it this upcoming year. The second call to action I have is organizations like the ones on this call gotta step up. Because if they sit there and say, well, we can't, then it's got to be on the AKAs or on the NAACP or on the Florida Risings to say, well, we're going to step into the gap and make sure that these things still happen, because the responsibility still has to fall on us sometimes to make sure we get it right. And so I just want to be clear that you might not get the answer you want in the first one. Stay on their necks, but you still might not get the answer that you want. And so you can't sit there and then go back home, sit in your hands and be like, oh, well, because my local government won't celebrate Black History Month, I guess we won't celebrate it. Y'all better, put a battery in your back and get ready to celebrate our heroes and sheroes.
I would love to know what, you guys have to say about that, Ashley and Daniella.
I'm just going to go ahead and make a couple points from the bill. So It was just a blanket statement originally. I saw it several times in committee and on the floor, and each time I saw it, there was an exception added because my job was to kill that bill or to diminish it in a significant way. And so when you look at celebrations like Black History, Juneteenth, those are allowed. Co-sponsoring for those are allowed because it's federal legislation. We have a federal statute. So the language in the bill says if there is a federal statute or if it's recognized in state statute, those are allowed. So if you have a celebration that has been going on, look at federal policies. Look and see, because the language is vague and it says federal like regulations or something. Arguably, when a congressional member reads something into the record for recognition of something, that can arguably be federal regulations. If there was something that was issued, and this spans all time frames. So it's just not in the last 10 years or the last 20 years. If at any point in the history of the United States, there has been a statute, there has been an executive order, there has been some type of order that has been issued or a regulation or policy from an agency, a federal agency, that is an argument that you can use to justify whatever you are asking for, because this bill is going to be subject to litigation for sure. So to Dwight's point, do not just accept no. Look at if y'all want to do just a breakdown of that bill, this statute in and of itself, I saw that multiple times. And local governments are going to be scared because they have a malfeasance and misfeasance strict liability language in it. Meaning, think of like statutory rape, right? If a person under 18, you guilty, period. That's called strict liability. You don't have to have any intent. So they have that language in there where a local elected can be charged with malfeasance or misfeasance if they violate it. And so that has been the chilling effect for local governments, that they don't want to misstep and be prosecuted for malfeasance or misfeasance. And that is the scare tactic in that legislation.
Daniella, I would love to know your thoughts, especially coming from the NAACP. What are your thoughts on this DEI changes in the law in Florida?
Absolutely. I would definitely share as well. I believe I was there at that gathering, Senator Bullard, when the Black Affairs Advisory.
Daniella, I'm getting a little bit of a grainy. I'm not sure if Ashley and Dwight hears it as well. Okay, guys, I just want to make sure it's just not me.
The mic.
Can you? Yeah. You were clear earlier, but if you want to go out and come back in, we'll let you come back. And maybe that may help.
Yeah, I think she went out.
Yeah. So
I will say that
Daniella,
the state,
some time to come back in.
The state NAACP has been extremely impactful in Tallahassee when it came to this bill. Creating information references for people to know what is in federal statute, just being a very instrumental tool for education. I know I used and looked up some of the resources that the state NAACP had. So they are super powerful when it comes to legislation that impacts Black folks in Tallahassee. So I just want to put that out there, that like the NAACP is doing the work in Tallahassee that makes it possible for people like me to be very informed when I'm looking at legislation like this.
Thank you. And Ashley, just to expand on that a little bit more, who will be the most affected and what compliance responsibilities should organizations expect?
So the goal is to eliminate whatever diversity, equity, and inclusion means. There is no definition in any Florida statute for that at all. And there is no reference definition for it in the bill either. And so when you are talking about equity or inclusion, human trafficking victims is inclusion, veterans is inclusion, different abled people is inclusion, people that participate in Special Olympics is inclusion. All of that falls under inclusion. They don't know what diversity means. So what does that mean? Are we talking about Scandinavian History Month, or are we talking about Scandinavian Celebration Week, or whatever? I mean, is that diversity? You know? And then the equity. Who defines equity? Again, there's no statutory definition in that. So when we are looking at as a nonprofit that's typically funded in some capacity by local governments with grants and so on and so forth, look in the federal statutes. See what applies to what you are doing. Look in the state statutes. See if it's a day that recognizes what your cause is. Those are exceptions. And so if you are like, I think there's an argument that there's I made a point for Mayor McLeod Bethune, and I said, well, she doesn't have a day in Florida, but she has a statute, because statutes are also recognized. So she has a statute in DC, and so a carve out was made to not exclude her from being recognized because she has a statute in DC, which means she's a founder of an HBCU here. So if it's for HBCU purposes, arguably you can say that it is in recognition for the legacy of Mary McLeod Bethune and historically Black colleges and universities. And if you're at Florida Memorial, you can make that argument. That's connected. That's what the language of the bill says. So that bill was just so poorly written. It was Jesus. So like, that's the kind of connections that people have to make and have to be creative with, because it's a bad bill.
Right. But I also want to stress the intentionality around it being a bad bill. Like, if it was going to be a well-crafted bill that was even trying to be particular in terms of its targeting, that would have been a choice. They made it vague, they made it bad because they want to create the chilling effect, and they don't want people to actually fight for the things that they want. So the reason I'm trying to make the connection between the Black Affairs Advisory Board and this is that the county attorney in Miami-Dade could have argued that the Black Affairs Advisory Board, fell under the guidelines that Rep. Gantt laid out. But instead, they simply said, let's pack it up because we don't want to get in trouble. You know what I'm saying? So there has to be a level of proactivity, intentionality on the part of us and the part of folks who really want to see justice happen, right? But because people are so busy trying to be scared, so busy trying to box things up, that they find themselves falling backwards into a Jim Crow 2.0, all because they don't want to actually stand up and fight for the things that are important.
Daniella, glad to have you back. Anything you'd like to add to that?
Absolutely. How do I sound now?
Great. You're great, girl.
Okay. Thank you. And sorry about that. My apologies. But yes, I would definitely echo what has already been shared about Senate Bill 1134. And as a matter of fact, for this year's State of Black Miami, I was actually in the room when the Black Affairs Advisory Board announced that they would have to look for a place to continue the State of Black Miami. So that was something that was shared this year at the State of Black Miami. But also, it doesn't just impact the Black Affairs Advisory Board. The County Commission of Women also will be impacted by Senate Bill 1134, and the other advocacy boards that the county has established for many years will be impacted by Senate Bill 1134. I'm going to take it a little bit closer to home. While people were, not really wanting to support publicly the largest, boldest, and oldest civil rights organization, the NAACP. Senate Bill 1134. Now people are hiding behind, right, this Senate bill, so they don't want to engage with civil rights advocacy work that is so needed at a time like this. So I would offer the solutions and call to actions as well, that we as a community continue to keep the pressure on those who are elected to serve us, right? They serve and represent our community. There is having an understanding of the law and knowing how to work, right? Not necessarily around the law, but for the people. And it's important that although these laws are being passed that are setting us back for so many years of progress that we've made, it is on us to continue to know our history, to embrace our history, and celebrate it each and every day. So we are on the heels of Black History Month 2027, right? So it's on us to also make certain our school board hasn't forgotten their way to still continue to teach Black history. And it's not just our K through 12 higher education institutions right here in our community also have that responsibility to teach Black history in our schools. And of course, our churches and across the board. But yes, there has been some horrible effects and impacts of Senate Bill 1134. But I also would recognize our county commission, because while this bill was in draft, while it was being heard in session, our county commissioners put forth an urge to stop this bill. So if you go and check the public record and policy, you'll see that there were commissioners here in Miami-Dade County that tried to put legislation to say this is not going to be good for our community. So I definitely want to recognize the efforts of those commissioners that thought it not robbery to do so, but it still is on us. It's on us as a collective, as a community, that we hold those who are elected to serve and make certain that we still have representation, right, and programming and activities that matters and move our community forward.
Thank you. I know we're going to have a Q&A at the end, but I just feel like Boss Chick had a really, really great question that I think we should address right now. Would that or another such bill also trickle down to Black-owned businesses? And I'll even throw in our nonprofit organizations that receive government funding. So will this affect them as well, the funding that they receive?
Yes.
I believe was already legislation put forward for that, especially the nonprofits. Yes.
Yeah,
it impacts everything.
That's the bottom line. Like again, when I said earlier that people need to be madder about this, people think that somehow that degrees of separation are going to save you. And I'm trying to tell you, like what Boss Chick acknowledged is something that everybody needs to lean into, right? This idea that it's not even a trickle-down effect. It is a sledgehammer, as Rep. Gantt put out there, right? That if you are a Black-owned business and the county is contracting with you because you are a Black-owned business, the state is now saying, guess what? You're going to have to find either another way to get that money or this. And what I'm trying to acknowledge in their lack of courage is the fact that they're not leaning into the fact that that Black-owned business can be saved, that there can be an alternative means of how to contract with these folks that doesn't, quote unquote, violate the law. But instead, they will just simply take a hatchet and say, sorry, we can't go to women-owned businesses. We can't do Black-owned business. We can't do minority-owned businesses because the state is saying blah, 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 blah. And all you're doing is left holding the bag to be like, well, what do you mean? As opposed to being proactive and saying, before y'all come to me and say, y'all can't, give me every reason why you can. And with all due respect to Madam President, we're bypassed the days of the strongly worded letter from the county commission. I need more accomplices. I don't need no fake allies on the county commission talking about, we're going to send a letter to telling our delegation, we don't like this. Nah, champ. I need you to pass an ordinance proactively that's going to address the issue that you see coming down the pipeline. Prime example we talked about with the driver's licenses. I need the county commission to buck up and be like, well, since we know that this could be a financial burden for folks, we're going to set up a special fund to make sure folks get passports. Since we're going to need documentary proof of citizenship, since a passport is going to cost people $180, here's an emergency fund for $180 for people who make X amount of money under a certain amount to be able to get a passport because the state's actively violating your civil rights, right? That's the kind of energy that I need to see at this point. So, but I digress.
Listen, I mean, yeah.
Any final thoughts on DEI before we head over to property taxes? Just definitely want to, and thank y'all. The chat is going up with questions and comments, so this has definitely been a hot button issue.
I mean, I know I had technical problems, but did we mention already that even though the state has did what it wanted to do with Senate Bill 1134, that federal laws are still in place? So we still, that's been already, okay, that's been shared.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, and we definitely made sure that the audience was aware of that. Guys, as we go into our last topic, I know this one has been a big one, and some people are confused and not really clear, so I'm glad we're leaving space and time for us to address property taxes. Our final discussion topics affects nearly every homeowner, taxpayer, business owner, and local government in Florida. Property tax reform. So let's just get right into it. And guys, we'll do a round robin. If you guys feel like, you want to jump in, we'll start it off with Daniella since, we started off with Ashley and Dwight for other segments. So first question to you, Daniella, what is the most significant proposed property tax change Florida homeowners should understand?
Well, let me just keep it real. I'm a renter, right? And I don't see where that may benefit or not me and my family. But I do have a working knowledge of this amendment, and as it relates to the NAACP, we have encouraged all of our members to look at the Florida Policy Institute. That's something that has come out from our Florida State Conference that we want all of our members to be informed and well aware of the impacts and possible advantages as it relates to Amendment 3. But something that sticks out to me, and I'm just, saying me, I'm a renter, right? So if those savings, and I'm air quoting, right? If those savings are passed on to landlords, so what does it do for me as a renter that is living or trying to live? Because I don't even know how we're affording to still be here. But what does that do for me as a renter when it comes to the property tax amendment proposal? If we
it makes your rent go up, Danielle.
It makes it increases your cost.
No, ain't no positive. It's gonna make your rent go up.
Wow, I'm a renter, so don't say that.
So that part is weighing heavily on my mind and all of the people who I know that are renters. Like, what's in it for me? How does it impact? Yes, we believe it may increase our rent, so we're not just paying $3,500 for a 2-bedroom, right? That may go up to $4,000 now, right? So I don't know about the property tax amendment, but I can say most recently that there was a finding by a judge that said about the language. The language needs to be changed as it relates to the property tax amendment. And I would encourage everyone to read the opinion of that judge when it talks about the actual ballot language that voters will have to make a decision when it comes to the general election. I think it's important that as we talk more about Amendment 3, we do have to know that 60% of the voters will have to pass this before it becomes an effectuated law. And even with it passing with 60% of the voters, it's still going to take some measured steps before it goes into full effect. So that's my, working knowledge of the property tax amendment, and I'm just going to recap, what's in it for renters, how does that impact renters, also, reviewing the ballot language that needs to be rewritten. That was a recent order by a judge, and also encouraging everyone to watch and review the webinars that are coming out weekly by the Florida Policy Institute. That's what I would say for right now.
And just to restate the questions for Ashley and Dwight, what is the most significant proposed property tax change Florida homeowners should understand?
So I just want to be crystal clear. Vote no on 3, right? I want to stay that off rip. And here's the reasons why, right? Amendment 3, the current property tax proposal, and understand, I empathize with folks who feel as though they're getting gouged on their property tax. But here's the shell game that Tallahassee's playing with you. Remember last year when the issue was property insurance?
It's still property insurance.
And they never fixed it? Then all of a sudden they hit the little 3-car Monty, put property in front of something else, and everyone's like, yeah, property taxes are the problem. You paying as much as a homeowner in many cases for property insurance than you are for your mortgage. Like, that's still the issue. Like, when you in the state of Florida, just so you understand, in order for you to get a mortgage, it has to be coupled with your ability to also get property insurance, which means that you are now left. You go to the bank and say, I've got the loan for my house. The bank says, cool. Now go out there and find some property insurance. And you know what you'll find? A non-existent market. And Tallahassee's done nothing to fix that. The governor in 8 years has done nothing to fix that. The governor before him in 8 years did nothing to fix that. That is still the problem at hand. But let's talk about property taxes in particular. What they're trying to do is say, hey, as a little relief, we're going to allow you to increase the homestead exemption on your homesteaded property from $150,000, where it is right now, to by the time that it's fully exercised, could go as high as $500,000, right? And that sounds cool for somebody. Oh, I get a little money back in the bank. But if you know the old adage, do not cut off your nose to spite your face, because the state does not pull its resources from property taxes primarily. It pulls its resources from sales tax. So what they're trying to do is say, we're going to give you property tax relief, you'll be fine. Not realizing that your local government, their budget is almost wholly related to property tax. Just to put this in perspective, this property tax amendment could result in almost $12 billion. 14?
14.
Look, the price keeps, yesterday's price is not today's price in this world of property tax. So it keeps going up. But just understand what that means. That means fewer buses, fewer trains, fewer parks, fewer pools. Even though they're saying there won't be an impact to schools, it will definitely be an impact to schools. All the things, police, fire, all the things that that are governed by property taxes are going to be impacted when you lose that kind of revenue. So when someone now comes along and says, well, we can no longer pick up your garbage, but you got a little extra coin in your pocket, what you going to do then? But to Daniella's point, and here's where I can't be rosy about it, because I am also a renter, right, is multi-unit properties aren't considered in this thing. These are homesteaded properties. These are single-family homesteaded properties, meaning that the burden now falls on the multi-unit properties. So the apartment owner, the condo owner, whoever that is, who owns that property is now going to get hit with a higher tax bill, which means they're now going to push that onto the renter. So when I say that your rent is going to go up, I'm not just saying it to be jokey. I'm saying that what you thought was a rent hike this year, we're talking about goes up exponentially once this thing passes, right?
If
So you mad about the little $200, $300 increase? Imagine that getting doubled, right? Because they're now having to say, I'm getting hit over the head, so now I got to hit you over the head because of the cost being put on me, because somehow somebody got to make up for the loss of revenue from all these folks who decided to get, which really, and let's be clear, only equates to about $1,300 over the course of the year, if that.
Wow.
Yeah. So property insurance is still the issue. The reason we are talking about property taxes right now is because the Republicans wanted people to show up for the election because they knew they were going to get mollywopped in the midterms because of all the foolishness that was happening. Okay, that's the real motivation. Property taxes are not the issue. Now let me break it down. So there are two ways to amend the Constitution. One is the citizen-led initiative. When the citizens lead the initiative, they have the ballot language approved by the Supreme Court. And then if it passes, the legislature then does what's called an implementing bill. And that's the statute that says this is how it's going to look. This is how it's going to work. Okay. When the legislature does it, we have a proposal. It requires 2/3. We have a supermajority. The Republicans passed it. So we typically, and it's a practice, it's not a rule, and it's not stated in statute or the Constitution. So that's what the Republicans used this year to not have an implementing bill with it, meaning we have no idea how it's actually going to work. There is a minimum of a $14 billion deficit that is estimated with this proposal. 100% of the police, 100% of the firefighter budget comes from property taxes. We are talking about jobs, okay? So all of us know someone that works for the government. The local electeds are going to have to make a decision on what jobs are more important. So it is going to impact schools because guess what? Parents who work for the government also send their kids to school. And so it is going to have a disproportionate impact on governmental jobs, which means that our already very inefficient unemployment in Florida is going to be strained even more. Okay. Now, the next part of this is if this passes, we are relinquishing, and you can say goodbye to home rule. And what people aren't talking about is local governments are now going to be totally dependent on Tallahassee. So home rule in Florida will be decimated. And this is not hyperbolic speech at all, because we're going to have to find a way to supplement the areas that whatever cuts, whatever tax shifts that the local governments find as a solution cannot be sustained, and it has to come from the state. Now, when we are talking about appropriations, I don't want Miami-Dade County to have to do an appropriation to make up for the deficit on trash collection, because an appropriation is a negotiation in the legislature. And then the appropriation, even if it gets in the budget, it goes to the governor's desk and it is subject to the veto pen, which means that it can always be vetoed. So what's going to happen then? If you have the money to pay for your trash collection, maybe you can, pay for it. But if you don't, what's going to happen? What communities are going to be disproportionately impacted with the elimination of trash pickup? Maybe it might be 2 weeks out of the month instead of twice every week, because they don't have the money to pay the employees, because they don't have the budget. And for renters, rent is going to be astronomical, because that it's going to be shifted, like Senator Bullard said, onto renters. And then, when we talk about senior services are for the most part funded by taxes or property taxes. And so these programs that are specifically helping seniors to get around, to get food delivered, and so on and so forth, they're going to be cut. And so this proposal has no studies, no data, The only estimation is, okay, if we look at the aggregate of all the local governments and what their typical budget is, this is what it can be based on how many people pay homestead taxes in that area. We don't actually know. And then the next legislature has to draft the implementing bill, and it will go into effect in January of 2027. Everybody needs to be voting no. There's no benefit from this.
At all. And I would also simply add that the legislature requires any changes to the tax format to go before the voters, which is a great democratic thing. But the problem is, if this amendment were to pass, they would then have to come back and propose another amendment to make up for the shortfall. So people are like, well, they could just increase the sales tax. That's cute, but you can't do that until you bring it before the voters, which means we would have to feel the pain first. And most for probably a couple of years before they would even propose something to make up for the loss of revenue. And so I'm just like, it was stupid from the start. And as far as Gum says, stupid is as stupid does. And that's and what Ron DeSantis put forward was stupid. That's why you don't see him talking about it now. He's not running on it. He's not bragging about it. He was all gung ho, like we need to do this for property taxes. Now, quiet as a church mouse. You ain't seen that man on TV or nothing.
Correct. And even if we do come before the voters and the voters say, yeah, let's increase the sales tax, the local governments will be dependent on Tallahassee. We will not have any local governance.
Wow. How could these policies, how could these proposals affect funding for schools, public safety, and local government services?
So there will be no local government services that are deemed unnecessary.
Right.
Period. There will be no budget for police.
Right. Well, no. Here's what's crazy about that. Right, is the state legislature passed the thing that says local governments have to protect the police budget, which means the police could be made whole. Everything else could be zeroed out. Right.
That wasn't included in this one, Dwight.
They okay. So they really playing.
The police and fire came out against this proposal.
Got you.
Because the ones that the House proposed only carved out police, but the one that DeSantis did, that's going to be on a ballot, has no carve out.
So you're talking about a dangerous game, right?
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Who could benefit the most, and who might experience unintended consequences?
So the most benefits will go to some billionaires who have claimed homestead status, and they have like a multi-million-dollar bill. It's like, and they're in Palm Beach County. So we had the data during the special session. The benefactors will be billionaires.
Right. The benefactor is Donald Trump. Let's be clear. Right, because Donald Trump has claimed Mar-a-Lago as his homesteaded property, as his single family home, and he gets
Mar-a-Lago.
Right,
it's
exactly.
his single family home.
You
gotta be kidding me.
This is what I'm trying to say. Like people need to understand that this is of no benefit to anybody, and it's definitely not a benefit to Black folks because again, first last in first out is going to be a problem for us because the same way they're going around going after Black schools and closing those down currently, mind you, Amendment 3 hasn't passed yet, and we're already seeing school closures predominantly impact the Black community, right? What do you think happens when a property tax bill passes? Do you think people in the white suburbs are going to all of a sudden be like, please sacrifice my high-performing school and save the Black children? They're gonna be like, nah, it's gonna be like legalized busing all over again. And what's gonna be crazy about it is that when that goes down and they start seeing the influx of Black children, in the schools that they thought we couldn't get into, that's going to be a whole nother level of turmoil that we have to deal with. And again, this isn't trying to be hyperbolic. This is history. We've seen this before. We know what has happened. And so why would we want to repeat the harm and damage that it can cause? It's crazy to me.
So is there any benefit to Amendment 3 passing? Like, could these proposals improve housing affordability, or might they create new challenges?
No.
A collective hell no, I'll say.
You lose your garbage and your fire coverage, but maybe you can take a discount trip to Disney World if that's the benefit that you want.
Yeah. And
there's the trade-off.
Daniella.
And I don't know if it was still in the bill. Let me see. But I believe there was a part that said it was going to be some type of fund. And I believe I saw Commissioner Dominguez from Opelika bring that up. Is that still a part of the bill where they're going to have some type of fund where people can apply? And if that's the case, when I think about a fund at the state level, I'm thinking about the Sadowski Act, where they just raided those funds, which were supposed to be for affordable housing, and that was being used as a slush fund year after year. So when I hear that they may have a fund so that homeowners could possibly apply, I just go back to thinking about, well, wait a minute, they didn't even do right by the Sadowski Act. So is that still a part of the overall amendment, Rep. Gantt? I'm not certain if it still is, but I know it was.
That has nothing to do with the proposal.
Oh, okay. Because I know I read somewhere there was a.
Okay.
Okay. I know I read somewhere about it, but I'm
it's bad all around. And I want to lift this up because Rep. Gantt pointed this out. The legislature, when they put a proposal or amendment on the ballot, doesn't have to follow the single subject rule, doesn't have to follow the limit on the language. So part of the reason why the courts are looking at this proposal now is that they're saying that the legislature was deceptive in what they wrote as the proposal, right? And I want to be clear, like when Amendment 4 passed back in 2018, Desmond and them could only write 75 words, period. And it could only address the subject of restoration of rights.
I forgot that part.
You know what I'm saying? The legislature gets to go around here and put all kinds of gadgets and gizmos up in their stuff. Well,
they actually had language in the bill for the property tax amendment that exempted the legislature from the 75 word. And it basically created like a gap moratorium, and then it'll go back to the 75 words after the purposes of this amendment is done. That is in the. I forgot about that.
Right. I'm telling you,
sounds kind of sneaky.
Sounds like corruption.
Ain't no kinda.
What legal or constitutional steps must occur before these changes can take place?
We just have to the not really constitutional or legal, but the legislative process, if it does pass, we just have to draft and pass an implementing bill. I mean, people can sue, which I do expect people to be gearing up for litigation, but the constitutional part of it, because it's not a citizen-led initiative, it doesn't go through the same scrutiny that citizen-led initiatives go through by having to be vetted by the Supreme Court of Florida and approved via that process. So the fact that it was subject to litigation now is why we have the court order where the title of the amendment has to be rewritten. And by the way, during the argument on the floor of this bill, because we only had 2 days to read it and argue it and then vote on it, Rep. Harris from Orlando offered an amendment to clarify the actual title of the amendment, and the Republicans rejected that amendment. And now the court is saying that they have to do exactly what the Democratic caucus proposed to do during the special session for this.
Wow.
I'm telling you, if y'all watch the Florida channel, it's drama. I'm telling you, it's not dry. It is drama. It is drama. And you'll be alert and aware because it's a whole what an implementing bill is the bill that the legislature drafts, votes on, goes through the committee process, and we vote on to become statute, and that's what the governor signs. That goes with the amendment language to say how it's going to be done. So the amendment says what, and then the implementing bill says how.
Yeah, and just to let folks know, asking about the implementing bill, that is how they did the runaround on Amendment 4. It's because the implementing bill included fines and fees
and the poll tax
as a part of it. The voters went in and said, "Oh, once somebody's done their time, they're supposed to get their right to vote back." That was what that, like I said, there had to be plain language. The implementing bill said, well, their time's not officially done until they satisfy their restitution and these fines and fees. And so the implementing bill isn't always good. But on this one, the implementing bill could be explicit to support billionaires, millionaires and billionaires. Like, this is the kind of internal corruption that could be brought about. And so that's why when I say vote no on 3, I'm not just saying that because I'm a regular working class person. I'm saying that because there is real life consequences that are gonna, and people are going to be hurt if this bill passes.
I saw this comment from Matthew Tisdale, and I want to talk about if you guys can explain to how private companies could take over the services that our taxes are currently paying for, and what that could look like, especially in a capitalist society. Could that mean that certain services could cost way more and they're bidding wars, or they set the price? Right now, it seems like it's kind of regulated because it's through government services. But can we talk about what private trash pickup could look like for us, or private emergency, ambulance services could look like for us?
I'll tell you, because we're dealing with it right now, right? Anyone who's ridden a county bus that isn't one of the big buses, is one of those jitney-looking buses. You're dealing with a private company that is providing that service for the county, because the county has decided to contract with these private bus providers for some of the shorter, quote unquote, the routes without high usage. What we in studying that, though, the problem is that when they put those buses out there, they don't have the same handicap or disability concerns. They may have breakdowns. They may not be air conditioned. There's all these different kinds of things. And then the contractor comes in and says, I'm going to provide the service at the lowest bid possible. It doesn't necessarily guarantee the best results. And so, to Matthew's point, that means that the point that Ashley raised, somebody comes in and says, well, since you don't have weekly trash pickup, I can do monthly trash pickup at this price, right? And the county, because they're limited in terms of funds, says, well, we were going to have to make this hard decision anyway. We'll give it to the contractor who's going to be non-union, right? Because they're now saying all the things that garbage collection has fought for in terms of livable wage, salary, we got to kick that out the window, because now we got to go with this provider who may pay $15 an hour, isn't guaranteed to have to pay $15 an hour.
They don't have that bill that Tiffany Esposito passed that exempted or preempted the livable wage for local public-private contracts. They don't have to pay that.
Right. So it's those kinds of things. You're going to get shabby services.
Yep. And so there's no benefit for that at all.
If adopted, what should Florida homeowners be doing now to prepare?
Save your money.
I mean, if
I'm already poor, what am I saving?
Right.
Exactly. I mean, the goal is to privatize a lot of these things. In Tampa Airport, they're moving towards privatizing the TSA services. I just saw an article the other day about that. So you're going to see a lot of I say nepotism in contracts where I know this person does this, and in some instances, like how we currently have our functioning systems, it is okay to have small businesses, provide some services. But when we're talking about on a larger scale where the firefighters will not have a budget. And I asked this question, I said, how many firefighters are dispensable? Because that's essentially the question that they are forcing local governments to ask. And thus far, the firefighters have put out the most unambiguous stance on Amendment 3 by saying, no, we do not support it. These are jobs that are going to be cut. They won't have the funds for equipment that they'll need to do their jobs. And like, how do you make that decision when they are already funded at a level where they need more, but they're making do with what they have?
Wow, this is eye-opening. We're about to switch gears to our Q&A section of the programming. Everybody watching out there, if you'd like to submit a question, you can submit it through the chat feature on the platform that you're watching. So if you're on YouTube, just put it right there in the comment section, or Facebook as well. You can put it right there in the comment section, and we'll start taking some questions. I did see some as we were going through the program, so I'm going to go back and see if I can find some of those in the comments and allow you all to answer those, especially when we had our first topic. I saw a couple of questions come through at the time. So let's see here as we get ready for our Q&A. Okay, so this one was earlier about when we were talking about voter registration and IDs. Someone asked, Chris M50 asks, can a passport card work instead of carrying your regular passport?
I don't know. I'm gonna say don't do it. Just bring your regular passport.
Let's see, we can find another question here. From Matthew Tisdale, how do we undo the issues once we get a majority?
So that's a great question. I don't know if you just saw me get really excited about that. So there are repealer bills. So we have repealer bills, and we also have legislation. So a lot of these bills that have really detrimental policies, we already have legislation that can counter them. So it's not having to create it. We already have it. It's already in existence. So what we need to do is we need to file a repealer, and we got that goes to having a majority in the House, majority in the Senate, and having the governor's mansion. So it's across the board where we have to have this. And if we get the governor's mansion, that gives a lot more leverage for us in the legislature that's in the same party as the governor. So if I have a repealer, like I'm filing a repealer for Success Academies, I don't care. I'm gonna file it every single time. If the governor's mansion has a Democrat that is in there, I will leverage the relationship to say, this needs to happen. This is how it will look. This is the other legislation that couples with that. And this needs to get to your desk, and we need to figure out how to get to that desk. And that involves negotiations. So it's not just the majority in the legislature, it's also the governor's mansion, because everything goes to the governor for signature or veto. And we have to have a governor in place to sign off on what we're doing with these repealers. So honestly, we won't see the benefits of the repealers and the fixers that we have to do. Our children will see it. So my little nephew, that's the first baby of 109, he's gonna see it. He's gonna see it in his adulthood, and that's what we have to work towards. That's not gonna be like our ancestors fought the civil rights. They did it for us. And so we have to do this and get to that place where we can undo this harmful policies or these harmful policies that have been enacted in the last 30 years for the next generation. We're not going to see it. So our work is not actually for us.
I just want to lift up the other statewide offices that people tend to overlook. If we elect an attorney general, the way an attorney general is supposed to work, despite the confirmation hearings for Donald Trump's personal attorney that he's trying to turn into the attorney general as we speak. The state attorney general in the state of Florida is an elected position, statewide elected position, supposed to be the people's attorney, meaning that they can call into question the constitutionality of laws that the legislature passes. I remember when I was in the legislature, one of the then Republican members said, "It is not our job to pass constitutional laws."
They still say that.
That's what he says, right? Like, it's not like that's the attitude, right? Like, it's not we can pass whatever we want to pass. It doesn't have to necessarily meet the constitutional merits, which is crazy. But I'm letting you know, to Matthew's question around the majority, that is what the current majority is saying. And so, absent of getting a new majority in the House and Senate, you need an attorney general who can call into question the constitutionality of these laws and get those laws kicked out of statute. You need a CFO, chief financial officer, who now gets into the business of trying to find creative alternatives to address issues around affordability. The CFO is also the state's insurance commissioner, meaning that if you're trying to get insurance companies back into the state to create competition or lower the cost of insurance, you need somebody there who's the advocate. Commissioner of Agriculture. People are like, oh, well, what about the Commissioner? If I told you that the current Commissioner of Agriculture was one of the largest egg producers in the country, and you were to ask me why are egg prices so high, and I point you to him, wouldn't you have? That's where the questions should come, right? If one of the largest egg producers in the state of Florida is the current Commissioner of Agriculture, and egg prices in Florida are still high,
what?
Yeah.
That's the kind of conflict of interest that should make people upset. But because, again, you've had one party control in all facets of government for now going on 30 years, this is the problem that we're facing. And so when people go into that voting booth and they say, well, I'm going to vote for the U.S. Senate, or I'm going to vote for governor, and I'm just going to peace out, right? They say on average, there's in many cases, about an 80% drop-off between top of ticket and the last thing on the ballot, which means people are literally going in, bubbling in. They're not even Christmas tree. They're like, I'm going in to vote for 1, 2 things, and then I'm out the door.
No way.
On this August 18th ballot, the county commissioner is the last race on that ballot. So that means people are literally walking out and being like, I don't even want to deal with it. I'm out of here. They're voting for Congress, they're voting for the U.S. Senate, and then they're leaving. And so I'm reminding folks that you have a short ballot in August. You're going to have a much longer one in November, and you have to vote down ballot because all 4 of the statewide offices, governor, attorney general, CFO, and commissioner of agriculture, will be on the ballot.
Yeah, and I would just add to it's important that we vote down the ballot. That is so important, but it's also important that we turn out to vote. You know, if you look at the supervisor of election website for Miami-Dade County, and I know it's still early, but between vote by mail and early voting, we are still less than 10% of a turnout. That's not where we need to be right now. I know it's early. I'm giving people some grace. I guess y'all wait until Saturday, but we need to be more. And I'm gonna give you the exact number. As of 5 o'clock, we was 6.17% turnout, and this is public information. No password needed. from your
Are you saying
local.
overall or for Black people? Like, is there a certain demographic? Like, are you just saying overall turnout?
Overall, this is including vote by mail and early voting that's been going on. Now, shout out to North Dade Regional Library because they've been able to garner well over 1,000 votes for the last 4 days. Let's keep that momentum, but we got to kick it up a notch so we can have beyond a 19.5 voter turnout. If you look at the data again from the Supervisor of Election website, you can see all these statistics. And if we want change, the change that we say we want, we need, we ready for, it's going to start with the people, one, being a part of these dialogues, right? Getting the information, getting the empowerment. But once we get that information, that education and empowerment, we got to activate it by going out to vote. So I really want to say that it's important that if we're going to be in the majority, if we want to be in the majority, we got to get out and be the majority vote. And that goes for local, state, all elections, because all elections matter and have an impact to our local communities. So I just wanted to say that in response to that.
Madam President, I appreciate your positive attitude, but
I'm
gonna call out these folks. If North Dade Library has only got 1,000 votes,
I know. I'm just trying to be
in the largest Black city south of Atlanta, Houston, we got a problem.
Listen, I know we do, but I'm telling you, for people who may not know the data, they may think I'm overreacting. I'm actually not. I'm not.
I'm just saying 1,000 ain't good enough, and it shouldn't be good enough.
It's not. We need to be bringing in at least, if we want to really move the numbers, at least 3,000 to 5,000 voters overall. We got 23 sites. And yes, I'm trying to do some positive encouragement and momentum, but the numbers not really looking the best right now. But, I just going to go ahead and say it. We got more endorsements than voters.
Ooh.
I'm just going to say it.
Now, I appreciate it.
I'm just saying.
Say that.
We got more endorsements than voters right now.
Say
Come on, voters. Come on.
Okay, so we going there because what do you guys think is attributing to voter apathy? Because it's something going on where the participation is so low.
I think people really think that politics don't impact them. I'm sorry, Madam President.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I really think that they think that it doesn't impact them. Every single thing. We cannot be reactionary. We cannot. We cannot. I am fighting on the daily, even when I'm home, with people understanding that everything that happens in Tallahassee impacts them. And even if you don't feel it today, you're going to feel it 2 months from now. And when you feel it 2 months from now, you're going to say, well, why you didn't say nothing? Well, I was saying something when I was in the fight for it. What were you doing? And that's why engagement is so necessary. Apathy is killing us. Apathy is killing us.
Literally.
It is literally killing us. And
I would agree.
But that's the reason that they just feel like it's not affecting them. That's what you guys are saying. It is.
That is
not only apathy.
That is what a lot of people have told me.
Yeah,
like
but
personally.
It's not only apathy. Apathy does play a role, right? And I'm not giving that as an excuse. But let me tell you what's another part that's happening. People can't vote because they in the line for food. They in the farm share line. Who's finna get out of the farm share line to go vote? If people hungry, and I'm not making an excuse, that's a reality.
No,
people are trying to pay their light bill. People are in the line to get their light bill paid.
And I received that, but my thing is both things can be true.
When they close to each other. When you gotta go.
What I'm saying is one is a causation for the other.
Right.
What I'm saying is the reason you find yourself in a farm share line is because people are making policy decisions to empty your pockets. The reason you find your light bill high is because somebody's building a data center in your backyard and driving up your light bill costs.
Yeah.
Somebody's putting people on the Public Service Commission, which are all gubernatorial appointments, who are then saying, guess what, FP&L? we need to give you another rate hike. Yeah. Because, you know, even though there have been no hurricanes, we need to keep jacking up rates. Like, these are all consequences of a thing. And what I want people to do is get out of the vicious cycle, because I'll add a third component to it, because what kills me is the misinformation and disinformation part of it, right? Is this idea that people, like, I've talked to people who fundamentally believe and will argue me down that by not voting, some mystery politicians looking at that and being like, you know what, I really got to change my attitude because that non-voter is somebody I'm concerned about. Like, they really under the belief that somebody's looking at low voter turnout and being like, oh man, 90% of people aren't showing up. We should really do something about that. And the reality is that there are some, but that is the minority. These folks who are trying to steal money from you could care less about you choosing not to go to the polls, about you choosing not to do your research. They could care less. They want to keep you ignorant. They want to keep you broke. And the idea of somebody wanting to do that to you and there's no retaliation for that. Like, I want to put it in layman's terms. If somebody is stealing money out your cookie jar every day and you see the person doing it and your only reaction is to be like, stop doing that. That's crazy work. And I'm saying, like, I'm not saying, by no means am I saying voting is the only thing. But what I'm saying is the idea that people aren't using an essential tool that could ultimately help save your life is wild to me. That people aren't that, because you're right. You're right. People are in line for farm share. You know where farm share gets funded from? The state legislature. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Who I work with? The Commissioner of Agriculture. The Commissioner of Agriculture.
You know what
That's
I'm
who I
saying?
work with to get the farm share and to make sure that my district has farm share opportunities.
So it's all I'm saying is, like, there's never going to be a perfect solution. But this idea, like I said, the Voting Rights Act is 61 years old. Yet I got black folks telling me voting don't matter. Sir, we only been able to do it for 61 years. like, how did you conclude that it doesn't matter for something that we've only been able to do for 61 years? Is wild work for me.
I'm waving to that little hand in Ashley's square. But before we end our Q&A, I'm curious about this. Can we talk about voter observers? So what are voter observers and how does that impact us?
So those are like, is that from election protection?
I'm assuming that's what it is. Yeah, I mean, we need vote. So I'll make my election protection push because we do that work here at Florida Rising, and happy to pass along the information for those who want to get trained. We need folks that are observing at the polling sites to make sure people aren't being disenfranchised. We need poll workers, meaning that, when the county offers, it's almost like jury duty. When the county says we need poll workers, if you got the time to give to work at the polls on election day, we need more people who look like us there so that there's no shenanigans going on. We also need people at the canvassing board. People are like, well, what is that? The canvassing board are the observers who are actually watching the count of the vote happen. If you recall, the two sisters in Georgia who were able to take Rudy Giuliani for all his coins in a lawsuit, it's because Donald Trump in 2020, under the authorization of Rudy Giuliani, sent MAGA folks down to the Georgia Supervisor of Elections office in Atlanta and were harassing workers. So we need people to counter that, who are also there to make sure that those people are protected while they're doing their job. And so all those things can happen. Please reach out to me at Florida Rising, Dwight at floridarising.org, and I'll be happy to connect you with our election protection training, our Canvas watch training, and so many other things that we got going on, because we need more volunteers to make that happen.
Thank you. I'm going to put that in the chat for everyone. Um, this has been an amazing conversation. We have just some final thoughts from everyone. What is something that people can do? What is one action every Floridian should take after leaving today's discussion? And Daniela, we'll start it off with you.
Thank you. Well, if you have not already voted, I will tell you to review the sample ballot that is available by way of the supervisor of election office so that you can make an informed decision when you go cast your vote. Early voting is still going on, and there are 23 sites across Miami-Dade County. I would also say that if you are going to wait until election day, please, please take a look at the supervisor of election website because there has been announcements of polling changes. So you may want to make certain that if you're waiting till election day, and that's your right to do that, but just know your polling place may have changed, and you can find that information out by visiting the Miami-Dade County Supervisor of Election Office to see if you have any changes that may have impacted your polling location. I would also say continue to do your research as it relates to voting in the primary election. It is critical that we turn up and show out for all elections, especially the primary. Please, please do your part. And if you have already, tell 5 more people and 5 more people to get up and go vote. We need it. It's important for us to do that. And just know that, voting is a part of the process, right? Engagement happens when you engage with those who are elected to serve. You can do that in many ways by attending council meetings, school board meetings, and sometimes you may not be able to attend in person. Many of the meetings are held online, and Representative Gantt did mention the Florida channel. So if you want to watch as well at the state level, you have that opportunity to do so. But I would say, please get involved wherever you are. You can start wherever you are, whether you are going to start with your local PTA, getting involved at your local schools, attending a school board meeting somewhere. But please, please get involved. And if you're not already registered to vote, you do have an opportunity for the general election. So you have that opportunity until about October to get registered to vote for the November election. So I'll say that, and thank you.
You're welcome. A question to you, Ashley. What is one action every Floridian should take after leaving today's discussion?
Make sure that the people in your sphere of influence are voting. I would say get engaged, join the NAACP. Like, y'all don't understand how great our chapter is. And I'm talking to myself too. I got to pay my dues. I'm going to pay them. But our chapter, I see what's happening on a statewide level. And our chapter is just doing an amazing job with engagement. When people, like when millennials, Gen X, Gen Z, when we think of organizations like NAACP, it's like, oh, well, it doesn't really resonate with me. Our fight is not over, guys. If our fight was over, we wouldn't need the NAACP anymore. Our fight is not over, guys. It has evolved. But the principles are still there. Like, the foundation is still there. So we have to stay engaged. The people during the civil rights era did not say, oh, this is a civil rights movement. No, they were in it to fight. We have the benefit of hindsight. We got to get engaged. It's plenty of work. It's few hands. We need way more hands. And also, and I'm gonna say this, people know me as being very candid, very direct, and unafraid when I communicate. That doesn't mean I'm not afraid when I do it. We have to have people with courage. I sacrifice a lot for being a public servant. And it's not something that I just do so easily or casually, but I do it for the greater good because it's not just about me. We have to have people with courage. We cannot sit by and say, well, somebody's going to do it. Well, why don't this person do it? Well, I got this going on. I don't want to jeopardize this. I have my own business and I jeopardize that all the time, every single time I say something. So we have to have courage, and we can't lean on just a few. Plenty work, few hands. Give us more hands. Get involved with the NAACP. Volunteer with different organizations. Volunteer to help youth. That is what we need. I need that, y'all. I'm gonna be selfish and say I need that. I need to know that when I'm coming home, I'm not coming home to a fight about why I wasn't at an event. I'm coming home to people saying, yeah, we know what was going on. We've been doing this, collaborating with my office and everything else. Like that is the coalition that we gotta build coalition. We gotta build it. And we have to take egos out of it. Because my name ain't gotta be on it, but the work just gotta be done.
That part. Dwight.
Hey.
What is one action every Floridian should take after leaving today's discussion?
I need folks right after this call to Google Julius July Perry, Harry T. Moore, and Harriet V. Moore. Why do I bring these three Black folks up? They're all Black folks, by the way.
Okay.
Julius July Perry was murdered in the Ocoee Massacre because he was audacious enough to be a Black man in 1920 and try to cast his vote. Let me make that clear. He was killed for trying to vote right there outside of Orlando.
Wow.
And right there in Central Florida as well, Harry T. and Harriet V. Moore were murdered by having their house blown up on Christmas Day.
In Florida?
In Florida.
Yeah.
Where?
In 1951.
Yes.
Where? What city?
They are the first deaths of the civil rights era.
In Brevard County. Right near Cocoa, right? So this is what I'm trying to say is that, like, what I get frustrated, what I get tired of is folks who just ain't put that kind of skin in the game coming up with the absurd notion that by not doing a thing that they're somehow making impact. The fact that a man went to the polls to exercise his right under the 15th Amendment and was murdered for it, and that a husband and wife were blown up on Christmas Day because they were riding around the state trying to register Black folks to vote in the 1940s and 50s should give everyone a level of pause and concern. Because we can't sit here in the year of our Lord 2026, and be like, oh, well, Obama let me down, so I'm not going to vote no more. Or this, that, or the third, or I'm doing this, I'm going this way, and making up piss poor excuses. Out here trying to quote Tupac talking about only God can judge me, so I don't need to vote. Right? This is the kind of nonsense that I've heard. And so what I'm saying is, I'm not trying to drag you. I'm not trying to, say anything more than we have a birthright and a responsibility as Black people in this country and in this state of Florida to do right by our ancestors who sacrificed way more than the time that we're talking about sacrificing. People who sit there and choose not to vote because it's inconvenient for your schedule. I'm just not going to be okay with that, and I'm never going to be okay on that. And I'm going to say it till I'm blue in the face. So do me a favor, Google those folks and understand why you need to do what you need to do, and then go do it. Because we ain't got no business to mind but our own if we mess around and allow democracy and our freedom to slip away.
And Janey, can I make one last point, and I'm gonna let you go. If we lose District 20 and Debbie Wasserman Schultz gets elected, we will have one Black congressional member to represent the state of Florida, and that'll be seat
Wow.
24. One.
Wow.
One. So I want that to be at the top of everybody's mind. Whoever wins seat 24 could potentially be the only Black congressional member in the state of Florida. We do not have time for respectability politics, and we do not have time for cowardice. Period.
That is what is at stake. And I would say, and I would challenge all of us, and just the engagement tonight, the viewership has been amazing. I would love to partner with these organizations again to let's do an open town hall about solutions. One thing I hear a lot is we know the problem. People say our vote doesn't count. This isn't that. I think there's this disconnect between the civil rights movement and now this generation who are benefiting from it, and they don't feel the pain, so to speak, so that they don't have that connection to it. But I'm we need to figure out some solutions, and I'm let's have an open conversation about what that looks like. Like Marlon Hill in the comments said that we should have voting supervisor elections for each household. What does that look like? How do we give people resources in their home to be able to be okay, I'm gonna be responsible for my 6 in here, and I'm gonna make sure all of them go. I think at this point we know what the problem is. I think we should start talking about some real solutions and how we implement them. And I'm definitely open to lend my platform to do that and work with the organizations here to actually start putting some solutions in place, because it's just that urgent and we keep losing stuff. And I don't think the generations under us really understand how that's going to impact them. And by the time they look up when they're in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, and they're starting from scratch with all of the rights that they've lost, it'll be too late. And I think we still have time to restore. So I just wanted to throw that out there to everyone, especially all the leaders involved with getting this town hall together, that maybe we need a part 2, and maybe we could do it before the general election on some things that we can do, some real things that people can implement right away within their homes and their communities. So I'm game if you guys are.
You know me. You know where I'm at, in Richmond Heights.
And NAACP, Miami chapter, AKA the Divine Nine. Let's link up. I think we need to do more of that anyway, because it's standing the gap. If we're waiting on Superman, they're never coming to save us. So we got to save ourselves. Man, this has been an amazing conversation. I wish I could have got to all the questions in the chat. We couldn't, but the chat was blowing up. I hope you guys are talking and networking amongst yourselves, and put vote in the chat if you're planning to vote. Put vote in the chat or some applause in the chat if you enjoyed tonight. Make sure you hit that like button. You subscribe. Also, to supporting Black-owned media like us, allowing us to be able to get information out there like this to the community, allows us to play our role in this democratic process, in this civic engagement process. So I really, really want to thank all the organizations tonight that have played a role in allowing us to bring this information out. It is going to be free. It's going to be on our website and on our platforms for people to see it from here until YouTube or Facebook go down. Y'all make sure y'all like, y'all subscribe, y'all share it with people in your different groups, your group chats, your family, and make sure that we get this information out there. This, honestly, too, this should be spread across the state, because what we're talking about is just not for South Florida. I know we got people watching from Tampa and Orlando and different parts of the state. So please, please, please share this video with people in your community and in your family, because this is very, very good information. If our if Madam President Alexis Brown is able to step back on the screen to say good night. I don't know if she's available. Can you hear me, Alexis? Give me a thumbs up backstage if you are ready to come back on to address the audience. This has been amazing, amazing. Again, I want to thank our guests, our panelists, NAACP President Daniella Pierre, State Rep Ashley Gantt, who's running for Florida Senate. Look at me, Freudian slip, right? Not yet, but we could get there. And former Senator Dwight Bullard, who works with Florida Rising. Guys, make sure you guys follow them on social media. Oh, the chat is going crazy. Vote, vote, vote. Yes, yes, yes. I love it. Make sure you guys connect with them. You see their names on the screen. You could Google them. I'm sure all their things will show up. If you guys want to give a quick, I always like to do, I'm in the age of social media. So if everybody want to give a quick way for people to connect with them on social or their organization, I definitely want to give you guys a chance to do that. And I'll start with you, Rep Ashley Gantt.
So you can always find me on any of the platforms. I do not tweet anymore, but I still have a Twitter. It's Gantt for Florida, Gantt, the number 4. No, I'm sorry, the word for FOR and then Florida. Instagram is where I reside. So
Yes. Daniella, how can people connect with you? NAACP, let us know all the things.
You can find us at one of the 23 voting sites. Meet us there. We'll be there.
And what about you? I know y'all got social media. Let's let's give them that.
I mean, but if you want to connect with us, we're gonna be at the 23 voting sites. We're gonna be at North Dade Regional, and we'll be at North Miami Public Library. So, come see us over there. Check us out. But we are also on Instagram, at NAACP Miami-Dade, and we're also on Facebook. We still hanging out over there on Twitter. But but if you want to connect with us, we over here at these early voting sites. So meet us over there.
But if you got information on your social media or your website, that's also a good way for people to connect with you too. Especially some of the millennials in here, we like our phones.
Yes.
But that's why I'm like, give them the
IG.
Instagram handle again, because you went out a little bit.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, we are on Instagram, and we check our DMs. So we're at NAACP Miami-Dade. So check us out on Instagram, and we're also on Facebook, with the same handle at NAACP Miami-Dade.
Thank you so much. Dwight, let us know how to connect with you on social.
Florida Rising on Facebook. We have a couple different means to reach us, both regionally and statewide. On IG, it's at FL Rising, and my personal IG is at Dwight Bullard _ if folks want to get at me. So again, here for the information. I ain't going nowhere. I'm going to yell and keep screaming. It's not to make people feel guilty. I want people to feel responsible enough to do right by our community. That's all I'm asking.
Thank you. Thank you all again for your time, for sharing this information, for breaking this down for our community. And I appreciate you all, especially Ashley. I know you're out there campaigning. You probably were out there in the sun today and doing the most. And to take your time to do this for free, you guys are volunteering your time because it's that important. Just want to give you your flowers and your kudos on all the things, because I know that, you could be with your families right now and, eating dinner or kicking, rubbing your feet together, watching the game of, House of the Dragon, if you into that, or, of Raising Canaan, but I'm sure on my shows, but you guys are here with us, and and I just really appreciate you all. So I just want to give you one last kudos and a round of applause for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janey. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, Janey. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Good night. So I'm going to bring our Madam President Alexis Brown, back to the screen to give just some thank yous and some housekeeping for us.
For sure. Thank you all so much for coming on. It was such an amazing conversation. I look forward to doing this again and bringing all of the DNAT work.
Yes. Hold up, Alexis. You froze a little bit. Are you still there? Alexis. Let's see if I could get her back on the screen. I'm gonna let her come back in and see if that'll help for her to come on the screen. Alexis, are you still there with me? We'll give her a few seconds to come back on. But thank you guys. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat while we wait for Alexis to come back to us. This has been such a great forum. Great job, Hello News. Thank you. August 18th, voter turnout goal 40% plus. Okay, let's go. Great podcast. Thank you. All of the AKAs and Divine Nines. Hope y'all like and subscribe and come back to Hello News. We have conversations like this every week. We have a weekly news show that we just launched that'll be coming up tomorrow. at 12:30, where we're going to talk about hot topics, doing some more candidate interviews. We've been doing so many candidate interviews. So this is a platform where we have these type of conversations weekly. So if you enjoyed what we had to talk about tonight, please like and subscribe and come back and join us and join the High Low News family. We would love to have you. I think I lost Ashley. I'm waiting for, I mean, not Ashley, Alexis, just seeing if she is going to be able to come back on. If not, I'm just going to do her thank yous for her. Thank you, Tisdale. Let's see if we can get her back. But in the meantime, let me go down some of the thank yous. Thank you to, she was going to thank me, moderator, panelists, Ashley, Dwight, and Daniella, collaborating organizations, sponsors and media partners, advocacy and social justice committee, the volunteers, and of course, our guests, our audience watching tonight. Let me see if Alexis is back. Well, let me just read this real quick for her. Just act like I'm Alexis right now. On behalf of the Alpha Gamma Delta Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, thank you to our distinguished panelists, moderators, partners, and each of you for joining us this evening. Legislative decisions shape our communities, workplaces, schools, and everyday lives. Staying informed is one of the most powerful ways to remain engaged as citizens and advocates. We encourage you to continue learning, remain civically engaged, and participate in the democratic process. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us tonight for this virtual town hall, the ballot breakdown, in partnership with the Alpha Gamma Delta Omega chapter of the AKAs and High Low News and all of our partners. Thank you so much. Guys, look, we got through it. I was nervous. Now that we done with it, I was nervous, y'all. Y'all divine nine people. I just knew I had to be divine and proper. I was so nervous. We got through it, y'all. We got through it, y'all. I'm so happy. This is great. I hope we get to do more collaborations like this. I hope other divine nine organizations see what we could do and come and work with us to be able to do it. And okay, we got Alexis back. Let me bring her back on. Yes. Alexis, there you are, girlfriend. No audio. Let me see. I'm gonna give you your things. Look, we live and I own it, so we can keep it going. We can keep it going until we get the tech together. Maybe your output is a little. You want to try it to go out and come back in, see if that helps. Let's see. Hello, are we there? Do we got it? Do we got it? Is you there? Is you there? As we get Ashley. Okay, you want to try it? Okay. Try it, and we gonna get it together because I want Alexis to say her things, but as we wait for her, like I was telling y'all, I was nervous. Oh, you divine nine girls, y'all so proper. I just wanted to make a good impression. I wanted to wear pink, but I didn't know if that was offensive or not. So I was like, well, let me just. Then I didn't think about it till I was on the screen. I was like, is it offensive for me to wear red with the AKAs? I hope y'all don't get mad at me. But I'm just joking. I really had a great time with y'all tonight. I had an amazing time. You guys flooded the chat, y'all flooded the views, and it was just amazing. And I'm just so grateful for all of the support you guys have given. That's why I love the Divine Nine, the family and the support and the just Black excellence that you guys display. Like, I definitely want to do more work with the Divine Nine, especially here in South Florida and throughout the state of Florida. So if you guys have virtual town halls you want us to work with you on, your events that we can amplify on our website and our social media platforms, you could go to highlowNewsMiami.com. You can find all of our platforms to follow us. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, TikTok, all the things. So definitely, please, Divine Nine, we want to work with you guys. I think that's the role of Black press and Black-owned media, is to work with our legacy Black organizations, right? Also NAACP chapters here in South Florida. Definitely we would love to work more with you guys as well. And I think thank you, Ashley. You said I look good in every color. I appreciate that, girlfriend. Let's see if Alexis, I see her backstage. Give me a thumbs up if you're ready, Alexis. Okay, let's see. Do we got you?
We got me. So sorry about that, but in 2026 we still having tech issues, but it's all good. But thank you all so much for coming on. For whoever's still left, thank you, Janey, for allowing us to do this, and I look forward to us making an all D9 organization partnership for the next one. And to continue to make this bigger and better. This conversation was so needed. I learned a lot. My mom even learned a lot. She came over to the room and was like, I need to double check to make sure my registration is open. My registration is good. So people are alert. We need to be woke. No one is coming to save us. And these conversations is what's going to hopefully get us not only to vote, but to be an educated voter and to advocate for the things that matter in our community. So thank you so much again.
Yes. Thank you so much, Alexis. We've always collaborated over the years, always been a huge supporter of High-Low News. We did our Black Achievers Awards together. You're always a phone call away, it's never no, it's like, how can we get it done? So I just want to give you your flowers for just
Thank
being
you.
so amazing, being a girl's girl, being a supporter of Black-owned media. Like, you are amazing, and what you're doing with your business and your sorority is amazing. And any way we can support you, please let me know.
I definitely will. For those that don't know, we are the newest chapter chartered here in Miami. We're the third AKA chapter that was chartered after 37 years. And so the Alpha Gamma Delta Omega chapter is about progression, about putting ourselves out into community and double downing on the service that our amazing sister chapters have already given to this community. And so showing up in our way. So definitely I'm excited about this and definitely look forward to working with you again.
Yes, definitely, definitely, definitely. Guys, we're about to close out the show. Alexis, are you good? Anything else you want to tell the people
That's
before
it,
we head
girl.
out?
Y'all have dinner. Tell somebody to go vote. All the things.
Yes, yes, all those things. Vote, vote, vote. Guys, this has been another amazing episode of the Can We Talk podcast, our special town hall edition, in partnership with the Alpha Gamma Delta Omega chapter of the AKAs, our virtual town hall, the ballot breakdown. Man, this has been a great show. Let me just make sure I got all my housekeeping things. Make sure you guys follow us on social media. We're on Instagram at High-Low News. We're on all the social media platforms. Also head to highlowNewsMiami.com and sign up for our email newsletter. It drops every Saturday and Sunday. Information, journalistic stories, investigative journalism stories. We've been doing a lot of election coverage. So please head over to our website and sign up for our email newsletter. We've broken down so many of the important races, especially between North Dade and South Broward County. So if you live in those areas, you will find candidate interviews there. We're also rolling out all of our coverage for the judicial races as well. So definitely stay tuned. Thank you guys for all the love in the chat. Also, tomorrow we kicked off a show called High-Low News Live. It'll be live at 12:30 p.m. So if you subscribe to our YouTube, you'll get the alert. It'll be live on YouTube and Facebook. We'll have a candidate interview with one of the congressional candidates running in District 22. She's the only Black woman running in that district. So we wanted to have a conversation with her. We'll be talking about hot topics, what's going on at the voting booth, how they behaving over there at North Dade Library. We talked about the voter turnout out there, but y'all also know they be fighting and doing the most out there. I'm gonna let y'all know what I've been seeing myself. I've been out there a couple of days this week just to see how the campaign workers are behaving, how the candidates are behaving. So we're going to talk about that and so much more. So thank you guys for watching us tonight. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for supporting us at the Politics and Chill Broward County edition. If you were there and you watched online, thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to keep this going. Also, too, somebody was trying to be a little slick with me and was like, well, what you gonna do after election season? I mean, kind of like we ain't gonna have no more content to do. And I was like, we're gonna keep our eye out on the elected officials. Once we vote them in, we're now gonna keep an eye out on them. We're gonna look at issues that come up for vote. We're gonna listen to what the community has to say, quality of life issues that are not being addressed, things that they're voting on. We're going to keep those hot topics like we've been doing for the candidates in the election. We're going to keep it going year round once we elect them in office, because we need to keep an eye on them and hold them accountable. And they need to know that we are watching. And y'all could come to me, send me y'all tea and gossip. Y'all could slide in my DMs. Because if some of y'all can't say stuff publicly like I can, slide in my DM with the news tips, okay? So that we can get it going and keep them popping and stay on their necks year round, so that we can have more equity and more accountability in our communities. Guys, this has been another amazing show of the Can We Talk podcast. We're going to pay some bills real quick. I'm going to put our disclaimer out because we have some organizations with us. So just to let them know that the separation from our advertising and our partners. And y'all have an amazing night. Again, like and subscribe if you are new here. I love y'all for real. And let's vote, vote, vote. Take somebody to the polls with you. Y'all have a good night. Bye.
While Ron DeSantis chose fights over culture wars, I've stayed focused on what families in Miami-Dade County actually need. I'm Ashley Gantt. And in the Florida House, I saw Ron DeSantis play politics with our kids' classrooms while the real problems go ignored. I proudly stood up to that agenda, fighting for our schools, our families, our freedom to live our lives. Now I'm ready to take that fight to the Florida Senate. Family first, community first. That's how I'll lead in the Senate.
Hello, everybody. I'm endorsing Oliver Gilbert because he has always delivered for us, raising wages, delivering paid sick leave, and passing a law to lower water rates.
I'm Oliver Gilbert, and I approve this message because from supporting the 5,000 Role Models program to standing up to Trump, I'm ready to carry on the legacy of Congresswoman Wilson.
Trust me, we need Oliver Gilbert in Congress.
Wait, can y'all still not hear the ads? Because we got to make sure we pay our bills. Let me know if y'all still can't hear the ads, okay? Because we can't have that. We can't have that. You can't. Is it just Mike or is that everybody? Just let me know. Just let me know because I will replay it, okay? Mike, I'm gonna play it again, okay? Let me see if you can hear it, all right?
While Ron DeSantis chose fights over culture wars, I've stayed focused on what families in Miami-Dade County actually need. I'm Ashley Gantt. And in the Florida House, I saw Ron DeSantis play politics with our kids' classrooms while the real problems go ignored. I proudly stood up to that agenda, fighting for our schools, our families, our freedom to live our lives. Now I'm ready to take that fight to the Florida Senate. Family first, community first. That's how I'll lead in the Senate.
Hello, everybody. I'm endorsing Oliver Gilbert because he has always delivered for us, raising wages, delivering paid sick leave, and passing a law to lower water rates.
I'm Oliver Gilbert, and I approve this message because from supporting the 5,000 Role Models program to standing up to Trump, I'm ready to carry on the legacy of Congresswoman Wilson.
Trust me, we need Oliver Gilbert in Congress.
For decades, Daphne Campbell has stood with the people of South Florida, listening and delivering results. A proud Democrat since 1994, registered nurse. She championed opportunities for underserved students to attend college, build brighter futures, and stronger public schools. Senator Campbell will fight to fully fund our classrooms, pay teachers what they are worth, and stop politicians from playing politics with our kids' futures. When residents demanded action against unfair traffic fines, Daphne listened and successfully fought to remove red light traffic cameras in North Miami, Biscayne Park, Miami Shores, and El Portal. Daphne Campbell is also a victim of gun violence. She lost her son to gun violence and understands the pain too many Florida families live with. She believes we can protect the Second Amendment while keeping our children and communities safe. Her vision is clear: stronger public schools, better healthcare, affordable housing, safer neighborhoods, and more opportunities for every family. Experience, leadership, results. Vote Daphne Campbell. Your voice, your future. Our district, District 108. Punch number 102 on your ballot. Political ad paid and approved by Daphne D. Campbell, Democratic candidate for State Representative, District 108.
Plastic bags don't go in the recycling. It's Recycle Right, the game where we find out what's recyclable and what's garbage. Ready to play? Go. So many items we toss daily like cardboard, cans, cartons, glass, and plastic bottles can actually be recycled in our curbside collection program for a cleaner community. The rest is garbage, like your uncle's aim. When you recycle right, we all win. Take your victory lap.
Every drop has a purpose. It nurtures more than just our gardens. Protect what connects us. Conserve what sustains us. Because water is life.